Welcome to Geocache Adventures, the podcast where we explore everything geocaching. I'm your host, Shadow Dragon 1. I love geocaching. If you're listening to this, you probably love it too. If you enjoy the podcast, consider sharing it with somebody that you think would love it. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and there's a Facebook group as well, so you can join in the fun and share your adventures. There's also a Patreon page that you can join and unlock exclusive content. Hi, everybody. Amy Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me today is Andy from PinPoint Magazine. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Amy. Good to be here.
So, first of all, can you tell us what is your geocaching name and how did you start geocaching?
This is a story I love telling. I'm Tent Mon Tent. I wanted to be Tent Man, but it had already been taken because I like camping. So it's my love of tents. My caching name actually predates my geocaching career, as it were. It was originally my eBay username. I just took it with me when I started caching. So the way it worked is that as well as camping, I like many aspects of the outdoor life, walking and all sorts of things like that. And so even before I knew what geocaching was, I had a GPS, a very old, very basic Garmin GPS. Um, and I went on a train journey one day up the other side of my county here in Lincolnshire in the UK, just to go for a walk and to test out this thing and to work out how I could navigate with it and how it would record my route. And on the way home, back down here to Lincoln, where I live, I was just fiddling and noodling around with this Garmin Gecko on the train, just looking at what I'd done and where I'd been, what I recorded. And this chap sitting opposite me on the train looked up and went, "Oh yeah, been geocaching, have you?" And I said, "Sorry, what?" And he said, "Oh yeah, geocaching. Sorry, I thought you'd been geocaching." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." So he told me all about what geocaching was, and he'd done a bit of it himself. And of course, instantly I was intrigued. Went home, went online, found out all about it, and then the next morning dragged my daughter out to go and find a geocache nearby. And the rest is history, as they say. And that was 18 years ago. 18 years ago.
Wow. I The amount of geocaches in the world has grown so much over that time. Did
Oh
you
yeah.
have to go fairly far to find geocaches at
Oh
that
yeah.
time?
It's again. There's another topic I love talking to people about. Is Well, back in my day, it was all a bit different. And you haven't done the hard yards like I have, yeah. Yeah. So here in Lincolnshire, when I started caching, I think there are probably about 30 or 40 geocaches in the whole county, I think. And
Wow.
a big day out might involve an 8 mile walk, and you might find three caches, and you came home thinking, "Whoa, I've got three today." And I can remember finding my 100th cache, which was actually at King's Cross Station in London, and it was to do with Harry Potter. Any Harry Potter fans out there?
Yeah.
And like about 100, I bet there's no one who's found more than 100 caches. Well, of course, I was soon proved wrong, but 100 just seemed like an incredible total back then. And that was before the days of smartphones. It was certainly before the days of paper-free caching. So every time I wanted to cache, I had to manually program the coordinates into my Garmin because I hadn't worked out how to connect it up to my computer. Um, and I printed off the page and took the printout with me as well. So you couldn't do much caching because you didn't have pockets big enough to carry all the printouts with you.
Unless you're carrying around a binder with you.
Oh, I met a guy once who did that. Yeah, the same guy. The first guy I ever met actually when I was out geocaching, he had a binder with him, and he was also caching using a TomTom, a car GPS.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And he was using that to find a geocache. And I thought, well, even I felt a bit more advanced than that in those days. But yeah,
Oh gosh, that's funny.
yeah,
And now you can just basically go to almost any parking lot and lift up a lamp skirt and
yeah.
find a geocache.
Well, you say that, but we don't have those sort of lampposts over here.
Oh, you don't?
No,
So what
we
do you
don't.
have that's the equivalent over there?
Well, our lampposts are concrete into the ground or bolted
Okay.
into the ground, whatever. So the first time I went geocaching overseas, which was when we had a family holiday to Disneyland in Florida.
Okay.
So I cached in America for a say. I thought I must find a geo. There's already been caching a few months at this point. Must find a geocache while I'm here. And we were staying in Kissimmee near Orlando, and I knew there was one in this Walmart car park, and I went out 3, 4 nights that holiday, could not find the thing anywhere. Worked out how to send a message to the owner, who then explained what you need to do is that cover at the bottom of the lamppost, you need to lift it up. And I think, am I allowed to do that? Can I do it? Well, oh my God, it moves. We don't have those sort of lampposts over here. And so once I've seen that, because now I know that the old LPC lamppost cache is a ubiquitous kind of cache in the States, but they don't exist over here really. Not at all.
It's interesting how
Yeah.
same game, but you go to a different place and it's played differently just because of, just culturally, industrially, the
Yeah.
country is different.
Yeah. And everyone assumes, I think there's a tendency for everyone to assume that's the way they play it and the way it is around them, that's how it must be everywhere.
Because it's what you're
Yeah,
used to, it's your
because it's human
reference.
nature, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
if the first geocache you find is an enormous ammo can, you probably think they're all like that, and then wonder why you can't find a nano.
Yeah.
I've come across newbies like that as well, and it's not all like this.
Well, and I think that especially in the United States, we have that because it's a lot less people travel out of the country in the
Yeah.
United States than over in Europe. It seems to be much more common for people to travel to different countries. Everything's a lot
Oh
closer
yeah.
and easier to do
Well,
over there.
you can travel so far in the States without having to leave your country, can't you? So
Yeah.
the landscape changes all the time. Whereas here, some guys I know who live in the south of England, earlier this year, they managed to visit 15 different countries in 24 hours, with one cache in each country.
See, that blows my mind because
Yeah, yeah,
like it takes so long just to get
yeah,
to Canada or
yeah,
Mexico from where I'm in Missouri, so I'm like slap dab in the middle of the
yeah,
country, and it
yeah,
takes so long to go anywhere.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And from here, I could be at the seaside. I could be at the coast in 50 minutes. How long does it take you to get to the coast?
Oh, if I wanted to go to, depending on what coast and all, I know you could drive from here to Orlando and trying to remember because we went and about 5 years ago we went to Florida
Yeah,
if my son was 5 and we ended up flying because at that time plane tickets were going to be cheaper than gas, and when we
yeah.
looked at it, I think if you did nonstop it was something like 16 plus hours
Wow.
nonstop, and it's like that's not going to happen. It's going to take us like 24 hours to drive because you got to stop for gas, you got to stop for bathroom breaks and food, and we'll end up spending the night someplace. So at that time at
And
least,
geocaching on the way, of course, as well.
of course, well,
Yeah.
actually, here's the kicker. We went on that trip about 3 months before I started geocaching.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no. What
Yeah.
a disaster.
Yeah. Oh
Well,
well.
when it comes to travel, that's something we've all done, isn't it? I look back at places I went to before caching. Um, like we had a family holiday we did a Mediterranean cruise. Two laps the Mediterranean, visiting Malta and Greece and Spain and Monaco and Tunisia. And then a year later, I discovered geocaching. I thought,
You
why?
found out there's
Why?
geocaches all there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've looked back at places like, well, we were there in the early 2000s. Was there even a geocache there? Yes, there was a
yeah,
geocache there at that time, but I
yeah,
didn't start geocaching until several years later. And it's like,
yeah.
oh
Well, the
well.
thing is, going back to my Orlando experience, I only went for that one cache because it was a family holiday. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I only just discovered caching anyway. And years later, I look back and I see, oh wait a minute, there's a virtual cache at Epcot. What do you have to do for this virtual cache? All you have to do is have a selfie taken by the big dome in Epcot. Was this cache placed there when I was there? Yes, it was. Have I got a selfie of myself by that dome? Yes, I have. So unwittingly, I've done a virtual without even knowing it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Same at the Animal Kingdom, I think, as well, or Magic Kingdom, or one of those. Yeah,
It's amazing how many caches are there when you look
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
map.
Mm.
So PinPoint Magazine, and this
Yes,
is a UK-based magazine.
it is indeed. He says holding up a copy for if anyone's.
Ah, nice.
There we go. That's the latest issue. Yeah.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about what this magazine is and how it got started.
Okay. Well, there's lots to tell there. Okay. So Pinpoint is it's quarterly. Um, we're a print magazine, A5 size. Yeah. So it fits in an ammo can.
Okay.
Tested it. Yeah. And uh, it's we are print only. We are print magazine, but we also have an online subscription service as well. For those who prefer to read online, or for those for whom the cost of posting it is prohibitive. So a lot of our overseas readers, a lot of our readers in the States, for example, are online subscribers. So and what can I say about it? It's each issue is a mixture of sort of letters, features, photo articles, fun things, competitions. There's always a diary every issue. We have a geopet every issue, which I'm sure we're going to talk about soon, Amy. Yeah. All sorts of things like that. So how did it get started? Well, there had been a geocaching magazine here in the UK, which stopped trading a few years ago. And I'd contributed to that and written articles for it, and always fancied having a bash at it myself, doing something similar. But well, I didn't really feel there was a big enough market here for there to be two competing magazines, so we never really pursued that. But then when the UK Cash Mag, as it was called, when that stopped trading, my friend Jane and I had a quick chat and said, "Shall we have a go at this?" Because Jane's a very old friend of mine. That I could talk, I could do a podcast story all about my friendship with Jane, but to do the cut down version is we've known each other since we were 12 or 13 because we were both big Beatles fans, and she placed a classified ad in the Beatles magazine wanting Beatles pen friends. And so
Oh,
I answered that. And at one point, she had loads of pen friends, but I've just sort of stayed friends, and we've been best friends forever over the years. And we meet up, and anyway. But her background over the years, she's a professional editor, proofreader. She's had her own publishing house as well. So that's very much her wheelhouse, as they say. And she's done a bit of caching with me. And so it was she who said to me, why don't we go for it? Why don't we try this? And she'd always encouraged me to do blogging, and always felt that maybe there was a book in, I had a book in me, as she said. And I never really felt I could write a book about geocaching, but the magazine really appealed. So we met up one week and we talked about it, and we did some very basic costings, and we're going to go for this. And so we started it in just about 2.5 years ago now. We started it with a Kickstarter campaign, so a sort of crowdfunding campaign, so that we knew that we were going to be viable for at least the first year. So once we had enough people who said, "Yes, I'm up for this. I will subscribe." Once we knew we had enough to do that, we went for it and just have continued doing it since. And many of our subscribers have stayed with us. We are now in our third year.
nice.
Yeah.
So, how big of a subscriber basis do you have currently?
Um, well, it depends how you answer the question. We have lots of, we have nothing's ever straightforward, is it? We've subscribers around about 200 regular print subscribers, some a number of others who subscribe online only. And then we have lots of other people who just buy single copies of the magazine itself, either through our website or from our stand if we go to an event or a mega. So a lot of
Okay.
people who just buy individual copies as well as our subscribers. It's our subscribers who provide us with the base, the security to know we can keep going because
Right.
we know the regular income's coming in, and um, it makes it easier to plan ahead rather than constantly just selling single copies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for 3 years, about 200 regular subscribers. That seems pretty good to me.
Oh yeah,
Like a pretty good.
there's plenty of space for more.
Always can always
Yeah,
expand that.
yeah, yeah,
So your digital issues,
yeah.
how do people access those if they're interested in them?
Okay, so when you subscribe, you set up an account on our website, and then once your subscription is live, you can view them through the website. So you log into your account on pinpointmag.co.uk, and you can see them all there, like a flick book, so you can access them through the website. It's not a downloadable thing. You watch them online. You can turn the page, and with the online subscriptions, we try and put some extra content in there. So we'll put hyperlinks and extra photos and bits and bobs. So because of course we're not limited by the print space, we can link to other things. So yeah,
Okay.
and anyone who's subscribed, anyone who has a paper subscription, also gets access to the online copies as well.
Okay. And the first issue is available digitally for anybody to get on
It
there
is,
and check
yes.
out.
Yeah. Issue one, which is now out of print and out of stock, we've put on there just as a sampler on our website. So anyone out there who wants to have a look and have a taste at it, taste of it, what it looks like, yeah, just log on to pinpointmag.co.uk and look for the free issue one link, and you can have a look at what it's all about.
Very cool. Yeah, I imagine that'd be very helpful for
Yeah, yeah.
anybody
The
overseas that
postage
wants
cost
to.
overseas is prohibitive for many, and not for all. We do have some American subscribers who prefer a print magazine. We've got, but many of them would prefer um, the digital version because, of course, then it doesn't get lost in the post. We don't have issues with customs, and of course,
Yeah.
it's just the cost of the subscription, and it's cheaper to subscribe
So I imagine
electronically than
shipping
it is print.
cost
Yeah, yeah,
is included
yeah.
in that. Yeah.
And it also means that, of course, the day we make it live, you get to see the magazine, whereas it might take 2 or 3 weeks for it to arrive, or a couple of weeks for it to arrive um, in the middle of the Midwest or something,
Yeah.
compared to just logging on and reading it online. So, but we'll cater to all needs.
So who writes the articles?
It's a mixture. I write some of it myself. Some of the pieces we do are sort of based on interviews. So, might have a chat like we are chatting now, take a transcript and make it into an article from the transcript.
Okay.
Um, so, the other last week I was talking with Lookout Lisa. Some of you may know
Yes,
Lisa
I
from
actually
Cash
just spoke
Advance.
with
Yeah.
her the other night.
Oh yeah. So I heard about her new Cash Like a Girl podcast that she's launching. So
Yes.
we're doing a piece on that in a future issue. So we had a good chat. So we do that, and sometimes we'll publish them as interviews, laid out like an interview in the magazine. Sometimes I'll use that as a basis for just creating an article myself.
Okay.
So there's that. Some articles sort of write themselves in the sense that the Geopets, which we will get around to talking about, I'm sure. We have a diary. There's always a diary, so we invite a cacher for each issue to just keep some notes on everything they got up to 1 month in their caching life, whether it was caching trips or maintenance or solving puzzles or going to events or whatever it was, and just noting it down, and we can make a nice diary out of that, and that's quite a nice piece. People can quite like reading that because we try and pick people who have contrasting geocaching interests and different kind of styles of geocaching. So there's always something there to give people ideas. Oh, I can have a go at that. So we do that. But also we get people just contacting us saying, "Hey, I've just been to Bratislava. Can I write you a piece about my geocaching trip to Bratislava?" And we say, "Of course you can. Of course you can. Yeah." Or the other way around, I might hear that someone's about to go on holiday to Marrakesh, and hey, if you're going to Marrakesh, would you mind writing a piece about it when you get back? So we kind of will commission people to write articles as well.
Okay.
It's a mixture of all sorts of things. Sometimes people send us things. Sometimes people ask if we fancy it. What we're not short of is ideas for articles. Uh, I think sometimes people think that they'll send me a text message and say, I've got a great idea for an article. I think you should write about so and so and so and so. And I'll say, okay, you write it, we'll print it. Oh no, we don't want to write it myself. I thought it's not the ideas we're short of. What we're interested in is people actually contributing and writing. So anyone out there who's doing something different in geocaching or something exciting, or even just want to talk about their everyday geocaching life or their 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 origin story, we're like, we'll you write it, we'll print it. If you don't think you can write, just email me and we'll do an interview.
And you have a submission links on your website for people that want to go through and submit
Yeah, you go to the
articles.
website. There's a link there to write for us, which will tell you all about what length of articles we're interested in, what kind of photos we're interested in to go with the articles, what the submission dates are for different issues. So you can see it all there on pinpointmag.co.uk. And or you can contact us directly by email, info@pinpointmag.co.uk. That'll come to me. And if anyone's got a piece they've written they want to send it in, submissions@pinpointmag.co.uk. So there are plenty of ways to get in touch with us. We also are active on Twitter, which I still refuse to call X. Was I prefer Twitter, subsequently known as X, as I prefer to think of it, and Facebook, and we do dabble in Instagram, although I'm not very good at that because I think I'm too old for Instagram.
I think Facebook is how I first came across the magazine, and the
Yeah,
timing of it all worked out very interesting because I came across it was Facebook or poking around online. I came across your magazine and I thought, oh, I'll submit, see if they want to
yeah,
come on the podcast. And within less than 24 hours, I get a text from Mike. Where is it now?
yeah, yeah.
Hey, I just talked to PinPoint Magazine. Have you
Yes.
talked to them? I was like, oh, that's so funny because I just reached out.
Yeah.
And within that 24 hours, I checked my email and you had reached out to me
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
Mike
Mike
had
suggested.
mentioned the goat.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. It was all about the goat, which we will talk about soon. Yeah. Yeah, so it was great. It's quite a nice little international community triangle there, wasn't it, between the three of us?
Yes, it was
Yeah, I
really
had a
fun.
great time chatting with Mike. That was a super interview. Loved it.
Mike's a good guy. He's always fun to
Yeah.
chat with.
And when I get chatting on calls like this, sometimes halfway through, I think, wait a minute, am I interviewing them or they interview? I can't remember. Is this my interview or their interview? It's just a chat.
Oh, that's funny. So Geopets. I mean, this sounds like a very
Yes,
interesting article.
Geopets. Yes,
So what are
everyone loves
some of the
Geopet now.
Geopets that you've had submitted?
Well, this was a great. We had this idea from the start, and I'd been there's a. I'll start again. There's a mega event in the UK every year called Pirate Mania. It's quite a small
Okay.
mega, but it's been going for many years. Same team run it every year, and as you might imagine, it's a pirate themed geocaching weekend, camping and people walking around going "ah" all the time, and dressed as pirates, and lots of pirate themed side events and activities and things. And I went to one Pirate Mania a few years ago now, and there was a chap there with a parrot on his shoulder, and I thought that's a great costume. Look, he's even got a fake parrot on his shoulder. And I walked up and I realized it wasn't a fake parrot, it was a parrot. And there was this guy at the Pirate Mania event with a parrot on his shoulder. And I sort of logged this away. I think that's hilarious. Then, of course, when we started doing the magazine, I thought, Geopet, we need to have Geopets in our magazine. So we've had a number of interesting animals that have come to our attention over the years, months, years. Um, which are not just people, not just geocachers who own pets, but geocachers who have pets where the pet is actively involved in geocaching themselves, either because they go to events with them, or they go geocaching with them, or because they're trackable. We had a trackable scorpion last year. Okay, so the way the guy operated that was that he would take his scorpion to events, and if you dare to hold the scorpion, he would let you have its tracking number.
Oh gosh.
That was, yeah. I didn't do that myself, but yeah, that was it. So the parrot sadly is no longer with us. He has gone to the great rainforest in the sky.
Mm.
But Paulie the parrot lives on in the memory of geocachers in the UK, pirate geocachers especially, and now in the hearts of our readers too. So, yeah, and we've had dogs, we've had cats, we've had definitely there's one cat called Branston, who I did know because he belongs to some friends of mine, who I first saw at a camping event. They took the cat camping, and he was on a lead, and he wandered around outside, and they carried him to events, and he was geocache. He was our first geopet actually. Then Paulie the parrot, then the scorpion, and we've had some dogs and cats and things as well. My good friend Pete and Tracy, who used to run a podcast here in the UK, just called The Podcast Show. Their dog is called Cash, just
Oh, nice.
Cash. Yeah, so that's it. And Cash loves caching, obviously. And then we were sort of running out of steam a bit with Geopets, and we thought we can't just keep putting cats and dogs in there. It's the interesting, it's the bizarre and the exotic pets we're interested in. And it's something a bit different, and we can't just put dogs in all the time. Maybe we'll give this feature a rest for a bit. And then Mike mentioned you and your goat.
That's so
But
funny.
I thought we have to have a geocaching goat in PinPoint. We can't miss this.
The timing of it all just
Yeah,
is so funny of it. And
yeah,
it was so much fun writing up something for it,
yeah.
but trying to stay with it because I looked online, it was like, okay, this many words, and it's like I typed it all out. It was like, this is way too long.
I assume your geocaching adventures listeners know about your goat.
She's sort of the official, unofficial mascot of the podcast. So she gets brought up now and
As
then.
as she should be, as she should be. Yeah,
And she I so she actually I also call her my house goat because she comes in at night with the
yeah,
dogs
yeah, yeah.
and chills out in the house. And people think that's crazy, but there's a whole Facebook group of people that have goats and pigs and all kinds of barnyard animals in the house. So I'm not the only crazy person. Uh and I had her in one night, and I get her like I usually find them in like the rabbit treats and stuff, and they're little alfalfa blocks.
Yeah.
And she put them, she could put the whole thing in her mouth, and she's chewing. And when she's got her mouth moving, I was like, oh, I have an opportunity here. And I took a video of her doing that. And then I got on my computer and I played around with some audio and stuff. And she has her own Geo Goat song now to the Twinkle
Oh,
Twinkle
great.
Little Star thing. So
That's
that's
lovely.
been posted online and stuff. So yeah, if they don't know about the Geo Goat, then they're not paying attention when they listen.
I have to say, I'm a little bit disappointed there isn't a silhouette of a goat on your logo. I think there's a huge missed opportunity there
You
to.
know, that you're probably right. I do have Geo Goat path tags that I designed
Yeah,
for her, and it's a little goat eating out of this big clump of grass, and the ammo can is sitting on the other side of the
yeah.
clump. So yeah.
So Star the goat. Yeah. So going back to my Beatles connection with Jane, yeah, a Ringo Starr goat. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that the connection?
Well, actually, so I'd had one goat as a pet previously, and unfortunately, there was an incident with dog got in our yard, and Garby was no longer with us. And I was very upset. And about a month or so after that, my husband's poking around online because he knew how much I missed the goat, and he found a listing for this baby bottle goat over in Illinois, and she's almost all black with this little white spot on her forehead, and she was born the day after Christmas. And I said, we're not getting another goat, I can't deal with it again. I said, but if you got that goat, you'd have to name her Star. And he said, that's what they're calling her in the listing. I said, well, son of a gun, we're getting a goat because
So just to check, so you said you accepted the goat Only if you could give it a certain name.
It was like if you got her, you'd have to name her that. And he goes, "That's what they're calling her." And I was like, "Well, that's my sign to convince myself to get the goat." Basically, it's what it was.
It all makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. So she was, 3 weeks old. So we had a bottle feeder, and she ended up being inside the house because we'd had a big snowstorm,
Hmm.
and we had like 8-10 inches of snow, which is a lot for this area these days. And being only 3 weeks old, she couldn't be left outside
Yeah,
without a herd because she wouldn't survive. So she was being kept inside, and we put little Pampers on her,
I
and
noticed.
she
Yeah.
was in a crate. And the first night, she would not stop bawling in the crate. My husband just took her out, plopped her on the bed, and said, "Deal with her."
I
And she's just been our house goat ever since.
have to say, I've shown your picture of Star to a few of my friends. Say, look at this. What do you think of this? And their first comment always, is it wearing a nappy or a diaper, as you call it? Is that a goat in a diaper? We go, yeah, that's a goat in a diaper.
We get that a lot when we
Yeah,
take her places because the and some people will tell you that you can housebreak them, but they
yeah,
can't completely control their bowel movements, so they tend to just
yeah,
poo wherever, and
yeah.
they'll poo while they're walking. So we put the
Sure.
diaper on her. Well, if we take her to a park or, a festival or something where there's a lot of people, just out of consideration, we put her in the diaper so people aren't
Yeah,
stepping in piles of goat poo.
yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
when geocachers are out and about, certainly in the county where I live, we're always having to avoid goat and cow and horse poo. It's part and parcel of the whole caching experience. So I think you should embrace it.
well, at the park down the road where the playground's nearby, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No,
yeah,
that is different with children's play parks.
yeah, because
I
usually it's like
understand.
so I could take her out and, to like the conservation areas and the woods and stuff and not worry about it. But the thing is with goats, they love to eat poison ivy.
Okay.
They love to eat poison ivy. And my problem is if she eats poison ivy, and goats are surprisingly actually very affectionate. So she'll come and she'll rub her head against me and she'll kind of gum at your fingers. And then I get those poison ivy oils on me,
Oh no.
and then I've got poison ivy.
Right. Okay.
Or she
Well,
gets it on the blankets, and then I curl up in the blanket, and I've gotten it that way from the dogs before and stuff. So we tend to stay close. When I take her out, it's more like the park areas that with the
yeah. Sure.
maintained a little
Of course,
better.
Pinpoint readers will be able to find out all about this in a future issue of Pinpoint Magazine.
Yes,
And
yes, they'll get to hear about her.
Star will be starring in issue 10, which is out this autumn, this October. Also, just to say, anyone out there who really hates poison ivy, any geocachers, move to the UK. We don't have poison ivy here.
Oh, there
Come
you
in,
go.
come over the pond.
Poison ivy, poison oak. We got all kinds of. It's funny because you always hear about people joking about Australia is the country that tries to kill everybody,
Yeah.
and it's like I think the US is the country that tries to just irritate everybody because we have all these poisonous plants and stuff that aren't likely to kill you, but you're going to be really agitated by the rash you get for 2 weeks or so.
Well, we have lots of nettles. You have nettles, yeah. So we have.
We have I think we have, I don't know if we have
They're all over the place
we
here.
have
So
something similar to it if it's not stinging nettles. We have something
yeah.
similar at least. Yeah.
Well, at the age of 58, I can't believe that having spent most of my life wading through nettles again, I can't believe I'm not immune to it. But I am in our geocaching group. I tend to be the one who they send in just to wade in and bash the nettles down. So that's my skill set. That is just bashing nettles.
Oh gosh. Yeah. No, poison ivy is wicked. And thankfully I'm not highly allergic to it like some people are,
Yeah.
but I do get a small rash from it. And my husband doesn't seem to be bothered by it. But like we had an instance where the dog got out of the yard and she was running back and forth in some common ground property that wasn't maintained. came inside, and I got it from her, just from contact from her, because she
Wow.
had the oils in it. And then I just
Yeah.
had, it was just small, like a couple dots here on this arm and a couple dots on the other arm. And I was like, okay, wash the dog, wash all the blankets, because it kept, I kept getting new rashes. I'm like, it's on something in the house and I'm still getting rashes from it. So I pick it up easily, but not severe reaction at least. So
I'm pleased we don't have that over here.
yeah,
Although after a day of nettle bashing, I do sometimes get to go to bed at night. I'm just trying to get to sleep, and I realise my legs are tingling. It's like someone's sitting there just putting pins into my legs all the time.
from
What
the
is that?
stinging
It's the
nettles.
nettles, yeah. It's the nettles.
Yeah. Yeah. So quite often I tend to geocache with Star more in the fall winter,
Yeah,
when the during the fall at least it kind of changes a reddish tone, so it's easier to identify and avoid.
yeah.
And then during the winter, when it's gone, it's like, okay, now I can take you out to the woods and not worry about you bringing home poison ivy for me. So
What one thing that our readers would love to know, because I think this is the ultimate geopet for me, is one which has actually found a geocache. Has Star ever actually found a geocache? Can she root them out and smell them out?
no, she's too busy eating leaves and grass and stuff.
So if there was a geocache which was disguised in sort of fake ivy,
Oh,
or
she'd probably find
did
it then.
she have a
Yeah.
go at that? Yeah,
Yeah, she'd probably
and
find
eat it.
it then. Because it's funny because even fake plants at home she'll mess with. Like it's kind of ridiculous because I have to put a gate around our Christmas tree every year because she will try to eat the Christmas tree. So we got a small plastic one that was like 2 foot tall or something. It's like, let's just see if she'll leave it alone.
No.
And instead of doing a real tree every year, if we have to go to a fake tree, then we'll go to a fake tree just so we don't have to deal with the goat. Oh no, she kept trying to steal that tree and run off across the house with it.
Ha,
I was like, okay, well, if you're going to eat the tree, we're going to stick to real trees so I don't have to worry about it making you sick.
yeah.
So she would mess with something wrapped in fake plants and stuff, but yeah, she's usually too busy munching on leaves and
I
stuff to
just thought
worry
of
about caches.
making a crib scene where the goat was there at the manger, paying homage
She has
to
been
the baby
offered to a
Jesus.
couple people around Christmas time to
I
be a
don't think
goat in
goats
the
were
scene.
specifically mentioned in the nativity stories in the Bible, but I've seen this nativity scenes with dinosaurs and robots, so why not a goat?
Yeah, we do things with her, especially at Halloween, because she will let me dress her up.
Cool.
I just give her a treat and then I can put on whatever little costume on her. She doesn't care as long as she's got a
I'd
treat.
like to see that. I'd like to see
So
that.
I'll have to send you some photos because I've got some good.
Yeah.
She likes to wear sweaters because she doesn't like to be cold.
What sort of Halloween outfits? I mean, she
So she's got like a little witch's hat
excellent,
for one. She's got bat wings.
of course.
We just find dog costumes basically. I've got like a Supergirl costume of her that was in the one photo I sent you. That's how
Yeah, yeah,
Super
yeah.
Goaty Goat got named.
Oh, I
Was
see.
because
Yes.
we had a Supergirl costume for the goat, and when she wears that, we call her Super Goaty Goat. And then when we were making naming the cache, my
Yeah,
son was like, "Call it Super Goaty Goat." And I said, "Okay, we'll call it Super Goaty Goat." So then when we got it published,
yeah,
well, when I first published it, it was just uh a waterproof box. But then there was some issues with some flash flooding in the area and the box got lost. So I re-put it out
yeah.
with the goat theme
Goat.
container
Yes.
and we kept the name. And then we had to take Super Goaty Goat to get a picture with Super Goaty Goat. So
It's a great picture. It's a great picture. It really is. I
no,
really hope we have space in our pages to put that photo in because it's great.
thank you.
It's it's everything that I like about geocaching. Geopets, eccentricity, the outdoors, everything.
Yeah,
Of
she's got a princess costume.
course.
So every summer where my husband is from in southern Missouri, they have a local festival, and the local 4-H does a pet show to help support their 4-H projects. The money goes to their like a fundraiser for the 4-H. You pay a cut like $2 per an entry, and it goes to support the 4-H. So we always take her down there because they have a most unique pet category and they have a best dressed pet category. So we
Yeah.
always put her in a costume and do the pet show and walk her around the festival afterwards, and people just adore it.
One
It's
of our
not
geopets was a lizard called Spike. I think he's had similar prizes at events as well. Most unusual pet in show, that kind of thing.
Yeah, she's won a few ribbons and a couple trophies for being most unusual and best show. So
Excellent.
yeah, it never fails to see people's reactions when they see a goat. Because what a goat in a diaper is just
Yeah,
hysterical. But
yeah,
then you see a goat dressed up as a princess or as a witch or something, and people just love it.
yeah. I think all that sort of stuff is to be encouraged. So if out there, if you think this sounds weird, you're right, and it's magnificent. It's great.
Exactly.
I love it.
Well, and then
I'm British. We invented Monty Python, for goodness sake. Why would I not like
I
a
love Monty
geocaching
Python.
joke?
Well, and then because you have it's a regular local event, and then there's locals that look forward to seeing her now every year.
Yeah,
And they're like, "There's the goat. We knew she'd be here." Yeah.
yeah,
And the same thing at Halloween, we take her trick or treating with us.
yeah,
She loves to walk around the neighborhood on the leash. And there are certain houses I have to make sure we stop at because they look forward to seeing her every year and seeing
yeah.
what she's dressed up as.
Christmas tradition.
Yeah. The
Halloween
only thing
tradition.
with her is when we're trick or treating and kids are like, "Can we pet her?" I'm like, "Keep your candy bowl away because she will dive into the bag and try to eat the candy." She has stolen a candy piece or two from a few kids over the
Yeah,
years, so.
me too.
Oh, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
of your regular feature articles, do you have a favorite?
Um, well, I'm a big fan of variety, breadth and depth, so I like, sometimes whatever article I'm working on at the time as preparing it, that's usually my favorite. Um, although one we have done one, and we did one last year, which was a photo novel type thing, a story, a
Okay.
photo romance. I don't know whether this is something which appears in American teen magazines, but there was a fashion in the 70s and 80s have these magazines for mostly aimed at teenage girls, which were like photo stories about girls falling in love with guys, and they turn out to be baddies, and their parents, all these different gosh, is he thinking of me? Sort of mock-up stories and this sort of thing.
Okay.
And we did a geocaching version of that last year about this girl who meets this guy and she thinks he's really into him, but it turns out he's only into geocaching, and so it was like a comedy thing like that. And I've been out this morning because I used to work at the university up the road here, so I had a ready access to students who want to take part in these things. And this morning I've been out taking some photos to do another one, a different storyline for issue 10, the same issue that Star will be in. A storyline about this guy who discovers his daughter is dating a new boy, and he wants to check him out, and he sees this boy out and about doing all sorts of weird things like diving into bushes and emerging from rivers and meeting weirdos on the corner of the street, and he's decided this lad is clearly no good at all, and that's the storyline. Of course, it turns out he's a geocacher at the end of the story. But that's something I'm working on. We both really love that because it's just a bit different, a bit creative. I enjoy it. It means I get to work with other people rather than just sitting typing an article. So that's been a good one. And then we've got a similar thing we're doing later in the year with a guy I know here in Lincolnshire who's a big model enthusiast, like model railways and things, and
Oh,
he has a whole village in one of his rooms in his house with railways and shops and parks and things. And we're going to do a geocache story of the little inch high people geocaching in his village. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Oh, that sounds
That's
fun.
good fun, yeah.
For anybody that gets a digital subscription, do they have access to past issues?
Oh, no, you asked me a question I'm not quite sure the answer to. I think so. I think so. I don't know. Sorry, I will get that information to you so you can share it with your listeners.
Okay,
I don't want to feel like I'm copying out of this, but Jane, who I do the magazine with, she tends to deal with those sort of things, but
gotcha.
she's less camera shy than I am, more camera shy than I am. So I tend to come on these things, and she does that. So I will ask Jane. I think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay. 'Cause it would be cool to check out some of those past ones. So, well, you have two cache highlights for us today,
yeah. Yes, I do.
and these look well, they look interesting, but I can only read about half of the words on the page because
Okay.
the languages in some of them. And
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I haven't ran it through a translator, but it looks like maybe there's the English version of the
Yeah.
characters on there. But the first one is GC5D9V9. It's called Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. Yes. This is in Beijing in China. A few years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago now, I'd been doing a few visits to China, in a city called Baoding and also in Beijing. And on this one occasion, at that point, my most furtherly east cache on the planet was in Beijing.
Okay.
And when I went out to take part in this education expo in Beijing at the Olympic Park, um, I saw the opportunity to do some more geocaching and realized that there was a geocache 2 blocks away from my hotel, which if I found this geocache, that would push my furthest east geocache back by a few hundred yards. So I thought
Ah.
just a bit more. So I thought I'm going to do that. So the night before I was due to fly home, and I was desperately trying to stay awake so I get a good night's sleep to be up for the flight, and all that kind of avoiding jet lag thing. And I thought I'm going to go out for a walk. So I set off walking at night in Beijing. It's all quite well lit up, and it's about a mile away. And when I got there, I'm looking down, and the clue tells me that it's on some metal railings, and I'm looking around for this, and I'm getting down on my hands and knees. I know that the locals probably look at me thinking, "Who's that weird Westerner over there?" But me out of in the morning, I don't care. Um, and then someone walks up to me. This chap walks up to me and says, what you looking for? Can I help you?" Um, and I assumed that he was talking about the geocache, you see. So I stood and said, "Yes, I think it's here somewhere. He must know about the geocache." I thought maybe maybe he looks after the geocache. And I said, "Well, it's here somewhere." He says, "Well, what do you want? We have all sorts of girls for you." And I thought,
Oh.
"What?" Then I started to look around me, my surroundings, and sort of saw that I was basically standing in the middle of a red light district.
Oh gosh.
Okay, and I hadn't even because I was so focused on this geocache, and there were all sorts of bars and clubs and young ladies in various states of dress
Oh
around.
my.
And this guy was approaching me basically to try and procure my business, shall we say? And I thought, oh my, what this is not in my comfort zone at all. This, what am I going? And so I thought, oh no. It says, I get you anything you want. You say anything you want. Come to my club. I'm thinking, whoa, no, not not going down that. And then I thought, well, what I would do at home if someone asked me what I was doing, I would just say I'm geocaching. So I started to explain to him about geocaching. He said, no, no, it's not that at all. I was looking for a little plastic tube, and it's going to be hidden somewhere. It's just a game I play. And of course, then eventually the penny dropped. And he says, "Oh right, yes, no problem. I will help you. I'll get my girl to help you." And he does huge loud wolf whistle across the square. And this girl, who was clearly one of his, shall we say, staff,
Mm-hmm.
then so me and this pimp and his girl were then on our hands and knees in Beijing's red light district looking for this cache, and she found it.
Wow.
And I signed it. We had a selfie photo taken, and then I got the hell out of there.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
quite the memorable story.
It really was, yeah. very funny. It's one of those things. I got a rickshaw ride back to my hotel actually, and in the rickshaw, I'm thinking, did that just happen? What have I just done? Yeah,
Wow.
that was fun. That was fun. So that was one of my two highlighted caches I suggested to you. I mean,
That
just in
that
case
is
that wasn't
wild.
suitable for your listeners, I did suggest a second one there.
That is wild.
Yeah,
Did you mention that in the log when you logged it? I got
I can't remember if I did or not. If I didn't, I should go back and edit it and add that in. I suspect I was in shock.
yeah, I could see being in shock over that one.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow, that's funny.
yeah. Oh, it was. Yeah, it
Or
was.
maybe do that one during the daytime.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Hmm.
That's a first. I've never had
Yeah.
anybody say they've been approached by a pimp while
No,
geocaching yet. So that's a
no.
first.
I'm the last to date, and to my knowledge.
Gosh. You hear stories of like police interactions and
Yeah.
stuff, but that's a first.
Yeah.
Gosh. So the second cache here is GC5
Yeah.
WKFE, and it's a puzzle cache, and
Hmm.
it's called Cartesian Dualism.
Cartesian dualism. Yes, I'm not
This
quite
looks
sure what that
very
means.
tricky.
Well, it's in my mind because I did this recently. So when you asked me for an interesting cache, this was quite a recent one, and it's near Cambridge in the sort of east of England. Um, and I was down there a few weeks ago. I broke the journey on my way down to the UK Mega, which was in the south of England this year. And there were a few puzzles I'd solved in that area which I wanted to collect. So I thought I'll stay there. And this one caught my eye as well. I thought this looks interesting. And I'd had an event in the pub in the village I was staying in the night before, and the owner of the cache was there. And he said, "Oh, you should try this one. You should try that one." So I looked at this puzzle, and it took me ages to work out what to actually do on this puzzle. And he gave me some hints and tips. I went back to my accommodation that night and stayed up till 2 in the morning solving this puzzle, thinking if I can just solve this one, that's one more I can find tomorrow before I head off. Of course, what I realized after I'd solved what I thought was a really hard puzzle was that was just the first stage of it, and that there were further things to do. There were field puzzles and things to do at the second stage.
Oh
And
gosh.
so anyway, I got there and I found the ammo can, opened it up, and it's got two boxes inside it full of various electronic bits and pieces, sort of ribbon cables and circuit boards, a little LCD screen. Oh yeah, and I've been warned I had to bring batteries with me, so I got
Okay.
a couple of 9-volt batteries to take. So got all ready, and all these bits there. And I'm thinking, okay, so what do I do with them? Am I supposed to know what to do with these things? And um, I was playing with them and just thinking, perhaps perhaps this is just some higher level of geocaching that perhaps I've met my match here to put it all away and forget about it. And then I noticed that printed onto one of the circuit boards there was an email address. I thought, is that relevant? I'm not sure it is. So got my smartphone out, sent an email to this address, and immediately came an auto response with instructions as to what to do with all the electronics.
Oh.
Step by step, connect this to that, plug that into that. Now put your battery in. And so I did it, and the screen lit up. And without spoiling the surprise for your listeners or for anyone who ends up in the Cambridge area and wants to do this cache, the coordinates appeared before me and
Wow.
drew on the screen. And a short walk later, I found the final cache, another ammo can, and it was just incredible. To me, that's what it's magic. Okay, and anything which is, I think it was it Douglas Adams, anything which is sufficiently complicated that you don't understand it is basically magic. Okay, so
Yeah.
I know it's science, but
Might as well be magic.
it was just one of those things. I didn't have to understand what was going on. All I had to do was be able to follow the instructions. You know, there are some people there who do that cache who would say, "Oh, yeah, I know all about this. What we need to do is connect this processor to that thing." That wasn't me. It was like painting by numbers for me. Put the brown wire there, put the other end of the brown wire there, connect this to that, put the battery on that, press this button, and it all worked. And it was magnificent.
So looking over this, it seems like because it's a D5,
Mm,
but it looks like from what it says here, the difficulty is mostly the puzzle.
yeah. Well, the puzzle at on the cache page, and then also
Yeah.
the deal puzzle as well. But one of the best things about it, though, Amy, was that the owner, the guy who came to my event, was so helpful. You know, you sometimes you come across people who will not help you at all, and you're on your own, and it's meant to be hard, and you must suffer.
Yeah.
And this guy, no, all that night I was saying, I really want to solve this, and he was, you know, back and forth with messages. Have you tried this? Have you looked at that? Why don't you do that? Look in this. Have you done? And that was just great because he didn't give me the answer, but he wanted me to solve it, and so he was helpful. And I think that's a key part of good cash ownership. I think is if you've got
That's
something like that,
nice.
just to help people.
Yeah, because I have come across some puzzle caches where the owner just wants you to solve it on your own.
Yeah,
Because I guess to them, that's the whole point of it.
yeah,
But there's so many different types of puzzles that sometimes just identifying what to even
yeah.
start with can be tricky,
Yeah.
for me at least. And I know a lot of other people have that too.
Absolutely. One of the things we have in PinPoint each time is what we call PinPoint Puzzler. We always have a puzzle solving lesson in every issue,
Nice.
and we place a cache, an actual cache for every issue. We
Really?
get different people all around the UK will host these caches for us, and they link back to the magazine. You know, so that if you've read this article this in this issue, which tackles this particular kind of puzzle, then you'll be able to solve this one and find it. And then any of our readers who solve it can enter a competition to win a geocoin as well. So we actually have nine actual caches around the UK now, which are linked to articles in our magazines.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So does the magazine article give the GC code that's associated with
Yes.
it?
That's right. Yeah, it does. So you can
Okay.
So we teach the lesson. We put a QR code in there which links to the actual cache page. They can go
Okay.
there and solve it, and then they can either go and find the cache if it's anywhere near them. Even if they can't, they can still enter our competition by filling in our online form and entering in their solved coordinates. And so then we have out of all of the entries, we pick one at random to be the winner for that issue.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah. So and it helps me actually because I'm 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 getting better at puzzle solving, you know, with the help of cache owners like the one I mentioned and other friends of mine who have shown me. Because it's only by trying and learning and failing and people helping you that you're ever going to get better. Otherwise, you're always stuck with people who can solve puzzles and people who can't. Yeah, you want
Yeah.
to help people and to add to the community, I think. So, and that's what we try and do with PinPoint Puzzler, just to help people who, you know, the kind of people who look at the puzzle and think, "Oh, I've got no idea what to do with that. Scroll past." Well, actually, maybe we can help you. Look at some D1 and 2 puzzles. Read our magazine. Look out for examples of when this particular method's in use. Yeah, so we try and do that. We try and do that. We try and cover a different topic in each issue.
That's nice. Because, yeah, some of them can just be so tricky and some are more straightforward. I like the more straightforward. Like, here's a math puzzle. Solve
Yeah,
for X. I'm like, I can do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I can do that. But then I have so many puzzle caches that's like, I'm trying to solve and I can't get anywhere. And I go to like one of the puzzle help groups and I'll post it. And they're like, and even their help from my experience tends to be rather cryptid hints. And I'm
Yeah.
like, look, I need a little more straightforward
Yeah.
help because I don't understand what your hint is supposed to mean. Or
Yes.
I had
Yeah.
one, it was a counting puzzle. And they're like, you got to count. I'm like, what do I got to count? Because everything I'm counting is not working. Like, I understand I need to count, but I can't. Am I counting capitals? Am I counting
Yeah,
whatever? And they're like, and I keep putting into these different tools and it's spitting out different numbers. I'm like, can you just give me a little bit more straightforward help? Because I can't figure out what I'm counting.
yeah,
Finally, somebody finally told me, count the words in each sentence.
yeah,
I was like, oh, well, now that makes
yeah.
sense.
And sometimes you think, well, how was I supposed to know that that was what I was
Yeah.
meant to do? How did the first person who solved this know that that's what you're
Figure it
meant to
out.
do?
Yeah.
And the answer is because some people have got minds that work that way. The rest of us have to rely on step by step, blow by blow. I mean, like online solvers, like geocaching toolbox, things like that.
Yeah.
I rely on those far too much. And I was talking to a friend of mine recently who's an exceptional puzzle solver. And so I'm trying this, I'm trying this. I put these numbers in, and it doesn't. The output doesn't make sense. And she says, "What output?" Because she assumed I was solving it manually. And I said, "No, I'm just whacking all this information into an online solver and expecting it to give me the answer." And she says, "Well, do you understand what this particular cipher is and how it works?" Well, no, I don't need to because I can. She says, "Well, go back to basics. Go and find out about this cipher, how it works, what it looks like. Because once you know how the cipher works, that will help you understand what you're doing wrong." And she was absolutely right that sometimes just relying on those online input-output solvers doesn't really help. So that's been a
Yeah.
big lesson for me recently, is just actually take the time to find out what, how does app bash cipher work? How does whatever, and just to make sense of it and to learn it.
That's some good advice. My biggest problem is I've come across some where it's like, I need a cipher, but I have no idea what type of cipher. So how
Yeah,
do I even start approaching this?
yeah,
So, I mean, I like that there's different types of puzzles and different levels of puzzles. And I love doing
yeah,
puzzles and getting puzzle books and stuff and working through them. But, when you get a puzzle book, you at least know what type of puzzle
yeah.
that page has.
That's right. It's the main part of geocaching puzzles sometimes is working out what the puzzle is.
Yeah.
That's the first task, is working out what to do. Actually doing it is quite straightforward
Yeah. Once you figure
once you
out
know what
what
to
it
do.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, I've never seen this before. How am I supposed to work out what it even is to even get
Yeah,
started? And, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like puzzle caches necessarily, because
yeah,
they make it, some cachers make it so hard to even just figure out how to get started with it.
yeah. Yes, I know, and it's the same in, I guess, with any aspect of geocaching. I know plenty of people who just completely ignore earth caches. Too much like hard
Yeah.
work, too much effort just for one find. I really like earth caches, but then I did some university work on geology. I quite like the outdoors. I like understanding what it is I'm walking over, all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But plenty of other people walk straight past, and each to their own. As I said earlier, it's breadth and depth and variety that interests me.
Yeah. I like earth caches, but again, it gets to that level where it's like, I'm sorry, I don't have a PhD in geology to understand half of what you're asking me to do. And,
Yeah,
I don't mind doing some work, but it's like there's not a lot of earth caches in my area. So usually when I get to find an earth cache, we're on a vacation trip and I've
yeah,
got my family and I'm like, I don't have time to sit here for an hour trying
yeah,
to answer all your questions, because it's not just me I've got to worry about right now. So
yeah. I
there's,
know what I mean,
yeah.
even with earth caches, all caches have a difficulty rating, and
Yeah.
earth caches are no exception. So if you see a difficulty 5 earth cache, then don't expect to solve it to sort it in 5 minutes.
Well, no, but I've seen one. So it's like,
Yeah,
oh, difficulty 2.5. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, that shouldn't be so hard. It's like all the information's right there. Answer all these questions. I'm like, okay, yeah, all the information's right here at the location, but I just don't have the time to go through it all because I'm with
yeah.
other people. So,
Oh, I'm very guilty of that when I do an earth cache, that because I know that would be a good idea for me to prepare beforehand and to read the cache page beforehand. Of course, I don't. I get there. Oh, there's an earth cache here. What have we got to do? I scroll right down to where the questions are. Oh, I don't understand that because I haven't actually read the information. Of course, Yeah, that's my first mistake. Is it's based on the supposition that you've actually done your homework.
Yeah. They are interesting though, and they can
Yeah,
be a great way to
yeah,
learn. And
yeah,
I think when my son gets a bit older, it'll be easier to take him to do those. But at 10 years old, he just doesn't,
yeah.
he's just not that into most of them. It doesn't have the attention span to
Yeah.
hang out there long enough for me to
Also,
explain it
but
all
maybe
to him.
he'll never be into Earth caches.
And he may never be into
But
it.
there's plenty of other stuff in geocaching that may well appeal. Gadget
Yeah.
caches, bee climbing. There's so much to it. It's a it never ceases to surprise and amaze me,
Yeah. That's
which is
one
why
of
I'm
the
still
great
doing
things
it for
about
18 years.
geocaching.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else about PinPoint Magazine or about geocaching you'd like to share with us?
Well, I'm delighted to have had the opportunity, Amy, to talk to your listeners. Been enjoying listening to your podcast as well. Anyone out there who's interested in Pinpoint Magazine, as Amy says, you can look at issue one for free on our website. I'm going to say it again, pinpointmag.co.uk. You can take out online subscriptions. So give it a go. Why not? I mean, we are UK based, and clearly that means we do tend to have a UK slant to our magazine, but we also feature articles from all over the world. We always have, I forgot to say, we have a feature in each issue called Lonely Caches, where a friend of mine identifies caches that have never been found, been out there for a long time, often in the high polar regions of Canada or up a mountain in Russia, things like that, and just writes a piece about this, and the whole background to this. So we have international themes throughout our magazines, and we'd love to hear from your listeners who have tales of their American geocaching adventures or Canadian geocaching adventures. We'd love to hear that. So we are UK based, but we are very much internationally looking because we
It's
are the world.
interesting. It's interesting that you call those lonely caches because I've heard the term lonely cache used here in the US to define a
Yeah.
cache that has not been found for a year or more.
We in the UK for those we call if you find a cache that's not been found for more than a year, we call that resuscitating a cache. They're often called resource caches. So
Oh.
I think it's the same thing. Pete, who wrote the article, who writes the lonely cache articles, I think he came up with that term. Actually, lonely caches. Here we are, lonely caches in Russia. We're not recommending that any of our readers travel to Russia at the moment to find this geocache. It is of interest only.
Yeah, they are. I always refer to them as the unfound caches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes they're there for five,
Mhm.
10 years and they've never been found.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it is very interesting. And they're usually in some remote, super difficult to get to place, but that's not always the case.
Oh, we had one a few issues ago, in a place called Rockall. Rockall is a big rock in the North Atlantic. It belongs to the UK. It's basically off Scotland. It's uninhabitable. It's famous because it gives its name to the local shipping area, Rockall.
Oh.
And there was a case recently of a guy who tried to break the record for living on it. In these stormy seas and with a tent that's strapped onto it with all the and having and he had to abandon it because it was unsafe. So we got into it through that, and Pete identified that, and we featured Rockall as a lonely cache because there was a cache there, an earth cache there, which no one had ever. Hello, you froze there. Sorry.
There you are. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know. On my end, it showed you frozen. I was like, did my computer lock up? I'm like,
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
So yeah, lonely caches, Russia, Canada, all those places, all those hard to get to places.
That's that's interesting. But yeah, I there's a couple, I think that are pretty infamous, like the one in the is it the Mariana Trench?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. deep gold, or I think it's called, there's, like they placed
Is
in the
that an,
bottom of a trench
is
in
that an
the
earth cache?
ocean.
Is
It's
that
a
an earth cache?
geocache. Yeah.
Actually, in the Mariana Trench.
I believe
Wow.
it's in the Mariana Trench. I can send you the GC code for it.
Yeah.
Like the research team placed it there and is
Wow.
thinking somebody else on a research team would find it, but it's last time I looked at it, it's never been logged. It's on my watch list, so if it ever gets found, I'll get an email.
Well, I'm just thinking though, as you're saying this, Amy, that given that the only rule in geocaching is that you must sign a log, it seems to me that getting a submarine down to the Mariana Trench in itself is hard enough. Do you then have to get out and sign a log?
I, you know,
I can't see how that works.
the whole idea is very interesting because I'll have to send you the link because
Yeah, yeah,
they go into um a lot of detail on the cache page, and they had to use like a um remote submersible, whatever they call them, the little
yeah,
remote
yeah,
controlled subs to place
yeah.
it.
Oh, okay.
So I guess if you were to find it, you'd have to use one of the remote ones to retrieve
Yeah.
it
And then put it back again.
and then put it back again.
It's about 6 miles down, isn't it?
It's pretty deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty deep down there.
But I for one will not be rushing there, but I do look forward to finding out more about it. It's like the one that was on the space station. I think it's been removed, hasn't it now, on the ISS?
I don't remember if it got archived yet or not, but it did actually have one find log on it.
Yes, yes, it did. Yeah, that was amazing. Because I remember once working out, you have these apps that tell you when the space station's coming over, and one of my favorite things to do is to go out in the garden at night when I know it's coming over and spot it. And I worked out once that I was not far from where it was directly passing over. And I tried to think, well, if it's directly overhead, that surely means I'm at the same coordinates as the geocache. Therefore, I should be allowed to claim it. This did not. It was not agreed with by the owner of the cache. So,
That's an interesting argument, though.
yeah, but I think presumably on the basis that I couldn't sign a log.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's interesting that I'm both at the coordinates while simultaneously 60 miles away from the cache.
That is funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. I never thought of that, but
Yeah.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So that one's on my bucket list anyway. The ISS cache if it's still live.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting to that one anytime soon.
No.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming on today and
Thank
telling
you,
us
Amy.
about PinPoint Magazine and talking geocaching with me. It has been so much fun.
Thank you. It's been an absolute delight. I'm delighted that the world of Geopets has brought us together as friends, and then we're able to reach
Yes,
out to your listeners and put them in touch with our readers, and maybe your listeners will become our readers and vice versa. It's
maybe. You
fantastic.
never know.
And
Small geocaching world.
please give Star a big geo hug from me.
Oh, I will. I will. Give her some lovies from you.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or go to geocacheadventures.org and you can find the information on the contact page. Theme music is by The Travel Bugs. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers. It is full of articles and pictures, all submitted by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. My favorite part is the little snippets on the edges of the articles on all the different pages. Those are my favorites. Just go to ftfgeo.com to check them out and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you.